Warsaw, April 1943. Bread baskets stacked at a checkpoint. German soldiers inspecting loaves. Inside, metal and gunpowder waited, each crust hollowed, each loaf wrapped around a weapon. What appeared to be food was ammunition. The soldiers tapped the loaves for hollow sounds. None detected the weight of resistance beneath the bread. Behind the line, a 20-year-old courier adjusted the white armband marking her as authorized labor. Her name on paper was polished, her accent convincing. She held the basket steady. A nod from the guard. She crossed through. The uprising had begun. The Warsaw Ghetto had existed since 1940. An area of less than 4 square kilometers confined over 400,000 Jews. Brick walls sealed it from the city. Gates patrolled by German police and auxiliary guards controlled every crossing. Inside, disease and hunger reduced life expectancy to months. Outside, factories and warehouses relied on Jewish labor under strict supervision. Between these worlds moved couriers, messengers, smugglers, liaisons. Mostly young, mostly female. They carried false identities and simple objects that concealed rebellion. By 1942, extermination had replaced imprisonment. Trains departed from the Umschlagplatz to Treblinka almost daily. The population dropped from hundreds of thousands to tens of thousands within months. Those who remained knew the pattern. Liquidation was inevitable. Survival demanded organization. The Jewish Combat Organization, Żydowska Organizacja Buchowa, or ZOB, formed from scattered underground groups. Its members met secretly under the pretense of labor committees. Their strategy: arm the ghetto before the Germans returned to complete the deportations. Weapons were scarce. A single pistol cost more than a family's food for a week. A grenade required contacts with Polish partisans outside the wall. Every bullet counted. Smuggling became the only supply line. Food, medicine, ammunition, information, all moved through couriers. Girls passed checkpoints disguised as maids, factory workers, or Christian volunteers. They hid pistols in loaves, grenades in potato sacks, maps in laundry. Gestapo patrols checked documents, not baskets. German assumptions about gender and innocence became their shield. Among them was a girl registered under a false name, age 20, former student of literature, fluent in Polish and German. Before the war, she had distributed underground newspapers. Now, she transported weapons. Her tools were modest: forged Kencart, armband, basket, and a set of coded signals. She carried bread, onions, and beneath them, 2 pistols, each 7.65 millimeter. Belgian-made, serial numbers filed off. In the false bottom, detonators wrapped in waxed paper. Destination: Mila Street, bunker number 18. Her route: Lesno Gate, east to Zamenhof, then north through courtyards. Every crossing a calculation. Her task: repeated daily. Leave at dawn. Pass checkpoint. Deliver. Return before curfew. Gestapo patrols random. Bribes calculated precisely. 1 cigarette, 1 loaf, 1 gesture of deference. Failure meant interrogation, execution, or deportation. Success meant another day of preparation. Inside the ghetto, she met contact units who dismantled her baskets with surgical care. Every item inventoried. Each weapon stored underground until the signal for revolt. She never asked when. She assumed soon. By spring 1943, underground bunkers honeycombed the ghetto's ruins. Tunnels connected basements through walls and cellars. Telephone wires cut, replaced with coded couriers. Zob divided territory into sectors. Headquarters established at Mila 18. Commander Mordechai Anieliewicz. Fighters approximately 750. Weapons 17 rifles, 50 pistols, several dozen grenades, and homemade incendiaries. They expected annihilation, not victory. Their goal was time. Every loaf delivered, every bullet counted. The couriers formed the network's veins. Without them, the bunkers would suffocate. Each crossing risked collapse of the entire structure. She traveled under different names: Zofia, Maria, Anna, depending on which identity survived inspection. Her appearance unremarkable, her expression neutral. She knew that hesitation killed faster than bullets. Her survival depended on rhythm, step, nod, pass. The bread always visible, the weapons always hidden. On April 18, word spread that German units were assembling outside the ghetto wall. Trucks, artillery, flamethrowers. Orders rumored final liquidation. Zob transmitted a message through underground channels: stand ready. That night, couriers made last deliveries. She crossed for the final time, carrying grenades disguised as apples. Inside, fighters distributed them across rooftops. At dawn, the Germans entered. April 19, the second anniversary of the ghetto's confinement. Columns advanced through the gate at Naluki Street. Expecting compliance, they met explosions. Grenades fell from windows. Bullets from pistols, smuggled in bread baskets, struck the first wave. Smoke filled narrow streets. German officers ordered flamethrowers forward. Buildings ignited. The uprising had begun. She remained in movement, carrying messages between bunkers. Communications depended on couriers like her. Telephone lines severed. Radios non-existent. Each instruction traveled by hand. At Mila Street, she received orders to transfer remaining ammunition to Zamenhofer 40. She ran through corridors filled with dust and broken glass, the echo of gunfire above. Outside, tanks rolled slowly through debris, firing into basements. Fighters responded from windows with small arms. Each shot deliberate. Each cartridge counted. German reports described unexpected and organized resistance. The numbers misled them. Fewer than 800 combatants faced more than 2,000 soldiers equipped with armored vehicles. The resistance fought from prepared positions. Cellars reinforced with sandbags. Tunnels connecting houses. Each position designed for delay. The Germans advanced meters per hour. Losses recorded. Reinforcements summoned. She carried ammunition between positions under fire. Each trip measured in seconds. A pistol in one pocket, a grenade fuse in the other. Smoke obscured alleys. Visibility reduced to meters. She moved by memory of walls, by the sound of her own breathing. At every delivery point, she counted rounds aloud to ensure none missing. Discipline over fear. Zob used the weapons she smuggled with mechanical precision. Ammunition stored in wooden boxes labeled as food parcels. Each pistol cleaned daily, oiled sparingly. Grenades produced locally from plumbing pipes and gunpowder stolen from German warehouses. Fuse length tested with stopwatch accuracy. Homemade Molotovs filled with gasoline and soap to thicken the flame. Every item of resistance, the result of chemistry, engineering and courage, disguised as routine labor. During the first week, ambushes disrupted German patrols. Fighters attacked from rooftops using coordinated signals, whistles, mirror flashes, coded knocks. When ammunition depleted, they used knives and bottles. Casualties rose on both sides. German command, surprised by sustained resistance, changed tactics. On April 23, they began systematic destruction, burning each block, collapsing cellars, sealing tunnels. Fire replaced bullets. The couriers adapted. They crawled through sewer lines, carrying messages in sealed jars. She used one hand to hold the jar, the other to feel along walls in darkness. Water, waist-deep, air thick with methane. Above ground, flames consumed the ghetto. Each day documented by German reports as progress. Each night by resistance notes as survival. Zob recorded the number of houses lost, fighters killed, weapons remaining. On April 25, only half the original positions remained. Food gone, water scarce, air poisoned by smoke. Still, they held. Each moment extended the timeline of defiance. She reached Mila 18 on April 26. The bunker crowded, ammunition low. Commander Anielewicz prepared final message. The dream of my life has become reality. Jewish self-defense in the ghetto is a fact. She watched silently as couriers copied the note for transmission beyond the wall. Her task unchanged: deliver and return. She carried the message through burning streets, through the same gate she once used for bread. The guard post abandoned, the air thick with ash. She reached the Aryan side carrying words instead of weapons. When she returned, the bunker no longer existed. In the following days, the Germans used gas and explosives to clear remaining resistance points. Sewer entrances sealed. Those trapped inside suffocated or burned. By May 8, organized resistance ended. The ghetto became ruins. Out of its estimated 60,000 remaining inhabitants, most killed or captured, fewer than 1,000 escaped through tunnels. She was among them. Her route followed the sewer system beneath Zamenhofer Street to Proster on the other side of the wall. The tunnel narrow, oxygen scarce. Hours of crawling before reaching light. When she emerged, she carried only a small knife and a strip of fabric marked with the Zob emblem. She joined underground contacts who provided shelter. For weeks, she hid in attics and warehouses. German patrols searched for survivors, executing anyone found. Her false papers identified her as a Polish factory worker. The name matched no record. It was enough. Warsaw continued burning long after resistance ceased. Smoke visible for kilometers. German forces demolished the remaining buildings to prevent reoccupation. Streets leveled, walls collapsed. What had been the ghetto became an empty plain of brick and bone. She walked past it once, disguised, and saw nothing standing. Only the memory of alleys where each step had mattered. In the months that followed, she continued working for the underground. Her tasks changed from smuggling weapons to documenting events. Reports compiled for the Polish Home Army and Allied intelligence described the uprising in military terms: dates, units, duration. She contributed first-hand data: number of fighters, estimated German casualties, weapon inventory. The tone factual, devoid of sentiment. The goal accuracy, not mourning. Her testimony confirmed that the resistance held for 27 days. The figure became symbolic. In military analysis, it equaled the duration of many conventional battles fought by armies with artillery and tanks. The ghetto's fighters had delayed one of the world's most mechanized forces with pistols and gasoline. Every weapon she carried had fired before it was lost. Her hands had delivered the difference between immediate extermination and historic defiance. After the city's destruction, she vanished into post-war displacement. Names changed, papers lost. When Soviet forces entered Warsaw in 1945, few witnesses remained. Records scattered across archives, the ghetto's ruins bulldozed, streets rebuilt under new names. The uprising reduced to a paragraph in early reports, but documents survived: Zob communiques, German operational summaries, courier logs. Each line confirmed her existence without identifying it. An entry in a resistance notebook read, "Courier M delivered weapons through Gate 3, February-April. Reliable? No surname." After liberation, the ruins of Warsaw contained little trace of the ghetto. A field of rubble stretched where streets had been. Surveyors marked coordinates for reconstruction, cataloging debris by weight and material. Bones identified only by position, not by name. The bunkers collapsed into soil. Maps showed blank spaces labeled former Jewish quarter. The past reduced to negative space. She emerged from hiding with forged identification intact. The war ended officially in May 1945, but her existence remained provisional. No family records, no residence permits, no history acceptable to new authorities. She worked as translator for relief agencies, filing refugee documents for others while concealing her own origin. Her handwriting methodical, her tone impersonal. Each name written another confirmation of absence. Poland reconstructed under Soviet supervision. The resistance she had served classified as non-aligned. Zob's documentation scattered among underground networks and Allied archives abroad. Witnesses interrogated, some imprisoned, others disappeared. The uprising survived through memory fragments and coded references in post-war reports. She provided testimony to a liaison officer in Lublin, describing the smuggling methods used before April 1943. The report included item counts: 32 pistols, 16 grenades, 2 rifles. Each weapon traced to her delivery routes. The document labeled "Anonymous Female Courier." No signature. In subsequent years, survivors emigrated. Names resurfaced in memoirs: Vladka Mead, Renia Kukielka, Tosia Altman. Each described the same network of women crossing walls under false identities. Each mentioned baskets, loaves, potatoes, onions concealing metal. Their combined accounts reconstructed the system she had once operated inside. The couriers became known collectively as kashario, messengers, their function technical, their courage logistical. They carried not symbols, but ammunition. Archival research decades later confirmed that these couriers sustained the uprising's supply lines. Polish underground records estimated 90 kilograms of explosives and over 1,000 rounds delivered into the ghetto between February and April 1943, most carried by women under 25. Smuggling occurred through 8 gates, primarily via Leszno and Franciszkanska. False papers issued by the Home Army's Document Bureau used authentic German stamps stolen from city offices. Each courier memorized cover stories consistent with factory assignments. Any inconsistency meant arrest. The technical details of smuggling reflected engineering precision. Bread loaves, baked hollow, reinforced with thin layers of dough to conceal voids. Grenades wrapped in parchment to avoid odor detection by dogs. False bottoms installed in baskets with double hinges disguised by twine. Armbands worn in precise positions according to regulations. The illusion of normalcy sustained by repetition. Success depended not on luck, but on procedure. She continued using such precision after the war. Employed briefly as typist for reconstruction committees, she catalogued requisition forms for building materials, cement, timber, iron. Numbers replaced names, quantities replaced lives. At night, she copied surviving documents of the ghetto into private notebooks, transcribing them before damp and mold destroyed the paper. Her notes used administrative language. Mila 18 destroyed May 8, 1943. Zob casualties unknown. Couriers presumed lost. She included no personal pronouns, only data. In 1947, she left Poland using papers issued to displaced persons. Her route followed the same pattern as before. Checkpoints, forged identities, silence. She crossed into Czechoslovakia, then Austria, finally reaching Italy. From there, a transport to Palestine organized by refugee committees. Her name changed again during registration, another identity for another survival. In Haifa, she worked in textile factory, mechanical repetition replacing danger. Colleagues unaware of her history. When questioned, she described herself simply as from Warsaw. That was sufficient. In the following decades, historians reconstructed the uprising through testimonies and captured German records. Reports from General Jürgen Stroop detailed the suppression operation. 56,065 Jews captured or killed. 7,000 deported to Treblinka. 6,000 to forced labor camps. Daily progress measured in buildings destroyed. His final report ended with the phrase, "The Jewish quarter of Warsaw no longer exists." The document bound in leather, embossed with Nazi insignia, it became evidence in war crimes trials. Its precision matched hers in opposite intent. The Stroop report inadvertently preserved proof of resistance. Photographs showed armed fighters, barricades, flames, ruins. Among them, anonymous faces carrying baskets. Historians later identified them as couriers. No confirmation of names. Possibly her, possibly others. The anonymity uniform. By the 1960s, public memory shifted. Warsaw rebuilt. Monuments erected. The Ghetto Heroes Monument, unveiled in 1948, marked the site of Mila 18. Crowds attended anniversaries. Officials gave speeches. Survivors placed flowers. She never appeared at ceremonies. Her work invisible within commemoration. The weapons she delivered absent from display. History favored commanders and martyrs. Couriers remained functionaries. Archival rediscovery began in the 1970s. Researchers at Yad Vashem and the Jewish Historical Institute collected testimonies of surviving couriers. Documents cross-referenced, timelines aligned. Several anonymous reports matched her roots exactly. One mentioned a woman, fluent in German, who smuggled grenades disguised as apples. Another described identical forged documents. Patterns converged toward her identity without reaching it. She lived quietly in Tel Aviv under her final assumed name, worked as accountant, kept small notebooks with dates and lists. On one page, she recorded a series of numbers corresponding to addresses: Lesno 64, Zamenhofer 40, Mila 18. No commentary. The data served as private ledger of memory. She maintained contact with a few other survivors. Their conversations factual. No recollection beyond verification. They spoke as archivists, not witnesses. In 1983, on the 40th anniversary of the uprising, newspapers published retrospectives, including photographs of couriers. One image showed a young woman with basket at checkpoint. Her colleagues believed it might be her. She declined comment. The image entered textbooks, labeled unknown courier. It remains identified that way. Her health declined in the 1990s. Before her death, she donated her notebooks to a local archive, instructing they be filed under Warsaw Ghetto couriers. The archivist catalogued them by content, delivery logs, maps, weapon lists, without author identification. Years later, historians comparing handwriting to wartime documents noted similarities to courier reports from 1943. Probable match, not definitive. The technical content of her notes provided crucial data for reconstruction of the uprising's logistics. Historians used them to estimate weapon distribution and resistance duration with precision unavailable from other sources. Her measurements matched German reports within margins of error. Independent confirmation of factual accuracy. Her anonymous contribution extended beyond survival to documentation. In 2004, a publication on women couriers of the Warsaw Ghetto included excerpts from these notebooks. The author wrote, "The material originated from an unidentified courier who participated in smuggling operations prior to April 1943. Her records correspond to known Zob structures. Her identity remains unknown. The statement summarized her life. Function proven. Name withheld. Modern historians identify at least 60 women who served as couriers between 1941 and 1943. Their combined efforts armed an estimated 750 fighters, each courier responsible for dozens of deliveries. Collectively, they transported enough weapons to sustain 27 days of combat against overwhelming force. Without their supply network, the uprising would have lasted hours. The resistance's endurance quantified by their precision. German military analysis, after the suppression concluded, Jewish fighters, well-armed, coordinated, and supplied by unknown external agents. They never suspected the external agents were women carrying bread. Deception through simplicity. Logistics disguised as domestic routine. An act of engineering under occupation. Today, urban archaeologists excavating former ghetto cellars occasionally uncover fragments, rusted pistol parts, grenade casings, metal pins, remnants of food containers. Each artifact, a residue of those supply chains. Every object once passed through human hands at risk of death. Among them, fragments of baskets woven from reed, charred but intact enough to reveal construction. Physical evidence of the vessels she used. Historians calculate the uprising's duration as 27 days. From April 19 to May 16, 1943. After that, silence. For those inside, time measured by ammunition, not calendar. When the final bunker fell, resistance ceased, but the act of defiance persisted through testimony. Each courier who survived carried within her the record of those 27 days. She died in 1998, unrecognized publicly, buried under her final name. The archive later cross-indexed her death certificate with wartime files, closing the loop invisibly. No ceremony accompanied the discovery. Only a notation, identity confirmed posthumously, her notebooks transferred to permanent collection. Researchers cite them in footnotes, not headlines. The style matches the tone she maintained. Factual, restrained, exact. Her contribution, measured in material quantities. Approximately 40 kilograms of weapons smuggled. 24 grenades. Hundreds of rounds of ammunition. 4 successful crossings under direct surveillance. 1 network sustained. 27 days prolonged. Each figure precise. Each representing lives extended. In modern Poland, the site of the ghetto remains visible through memorial stones and museum displays. Interactive maps reconstruct the uprising digitally. Visitors follow routes, once traversed physically by couriers. Each route labeled with data, distance, checkpoint, survival, probability. Numbers replace photographs. The pattern of resistance, visible again through information. Within those visualizations, her path traced repeatedly. Lesno Gate to Mila Street. The corridor of supply that defined survival. Every model shows the same trajectory. Each simulated delivery confirming her invisible engineering of endurance. Historians describe the uprising as moral victory, symbolic defiance, act of despair. Technicians of history describe it as logistical achievement. Under siege, under occupation, under starvation, a network sustained for nearly a month through mechanical discipline. Her role belonged to the latter category. She operated system, not symbol. Her resistance practical, not rhetorical. The archive remains her monument. Neutral pages, accurate numbers, no adjectives. Through them, the chronology survives without distortion. Her work rendered tragedy measurable, defiance verifiable. Every April, commemorations mark the uprising's anniversary. Ceremonies begin with silence. At Mila 18, names read aloud when known, numbers when not. Among them, the line unknown courier. Weapons transport, February-April 1943. The description sufficient. Identity irrelevant to outcome. Her work complete. The breadbaskets that once concealed pistols have long decayed. Their contents transformed into evidence. Their carriers into records. Yet the sequence remains unbroken. Smuggling, arming, fighting, falling, recording. A chain of function, connecting survival to history. Her story ends as it began, with bread, symbol of sustenance, turned into weapon. Matter converted into resistance through geometry of concealment. The mechanism simple, cavity, cloth, steel, crust. The effect immense, time gained, dignity preserved, defeat delayed. She never sought recognition. But the weapons she hid in loaves of bread turned starvation into resistance.